Hi, good evening. Welcome. Thank you all for joining me this evening. This is not going to be the kind of class where I usually do where I have a PowerPoint. The reason why I don't want a PowerPoint is because sometimes I feel like PowerPoints restrict you and you're sitting here talking about points on a slide instead of expressing something that's more passionate, more alive, and I wanted to be able to express this in a way that really um, gets across why I think this is so important. I have been working with people with the emotional side of healing since 1986. Really got heavily started into 1987, so it's been about 30 years. And during that course, I've really become convinced that emotions are the key to really being able to help someone heal from most serious chronic illness. Granted, I really believe, nutrition is important, and I think we get sick because, eating a lot of junk food and maybe exposing ourselves to harmful substances. But the question arises is, why do people eat junk food? Why do people smoke? Why do people drink? Why do people take drugs? Why do people use toxic products and are unable to use their own common sense or whatever to do something differently? It's because they're out of touch with themselves. They're out of touch with their feelings. So what I find happens in the years I've been doing this is I'll work with someone and sometimes making some dietary changes or getting them some supplements and some things like that is enough to get them feeling pretty good. But a lot of times it only takes them so far, and then you hit a roadblock, and they don't seem to improve beyond that point. And it's to that point I do what I call emotional healing. And when you make emotional breakthroughs, you see amazing things happen, and sometimes the nutritional supplements, they don't need them anymore and things like that because their body seems to balance itself out. So I'm really convinced that this is a very, very critical thing in healing. And it's been really frustrating for me trying to figure out how to get this message out to people. So I've decided I just need to start teaching it, and hopefully that I get enough people to resonate with it that I can start, getting more people involved in understanding the importance of this. So the question arises, first of all, what are emotions? I was a fan of Star Trek way back when I was in high school, was when the original TV show Star Trek was on, and I liked Star Trek. And you have those three characters in Star Trek, the Captain Kirk and Dr. Spock and or Mr. Spock and then Dr. McCoy, and they sort of represent the idea of our head, the intellectual part of us, Dr. Spock, and the emotional part of us, McCoy, and then maybe Captain Kirk is the more physical, action sort of person. The interaction between these two characters, I think what makes it interesting is it's sort of like the interaction between the different aspects of ourselves, body, mind, and spirit. But the idea of Spock being emotionless is really an interesting idea, like that everything is logic. Well, that's kind of strange, since if you study marketing or you study almost anything where you have to persuade people, and you want to look at people who are effective at swaying people, persuading people, getting people to change, getting people to do things, you'll find that they always engage people emotionally. That people make changes, they do things because of emotions, very, very seldom from logic. Any good salesman or marketer learns this very early on, that it's 90% emotion and 10% logic, because we just don't do things based on logic. And I concluded that emotions are actually the bridge between the mind and the body. The mind and the body interact through the world of feelings. Now, let me explain that I think that there are two basic aspects of feeling, and both of them are bodily sensation. We have feelings that are physical in nature. There are feelings that are telling us that the body needs something. It's really a way that the body has of saying, pay attention to me, I want something. And these sensations are highly motivating. Hunger is one of them. You ever really been hungry? I mean, a lot of people think they're hungry because, they can't find like a couple of teenage boys that lived in my house since I got married. They think they're hungry, but there's plenty of food around. It's just they don't want to eat anything that happens to be around because they would rather have something sweeter or whatever. But the fact of the matter is if you're really hungry, you probably just eat just about anything because the hunger would drive you to find nourishment to sustain your body. Same thing's true of thirst. You know, if you've ever been really, really thirsty, you know, about all you can think about is water. And both of those are sensations in your body. They're not thoughts in your brain. They're things that take place inside of your body. The hunger is this just gnawing emptiness in your gut that just churns at you. The thirst is the dry sensation in your mouth and the parched feeling and so forth. And so these are sensations. They're things that we sense inside of our body. Same thing with fatigue. You know, when we're tired, oh yeah, I got to go to sleep. There's this heaviness that settles over your body. It's a sensation. And that's where most people really miss the ball with emotions. Emotions are also bodily sensations. They are connected to things that you feel. In fact, one of the problems that we have is that it's very difficult to convey that kind of subjective experience to other people. I mean, you know, when a 13-year-old boy tells me he's starving, okay, and he eats like a quarter of a can of tuna fish and leaves the rest of it behind, he's not starving, because if he was starving, he would have eaten a whole can of tuna fish gladly and looked around what was next to eat. But so words have very subjective meanings, and it's very hard to convey things that we experience in bodily sensation in words. So a lot of times we think we understand what's going on with feeling or whatever, but we don't understand what's going on with feeling because it's very difficult to put that in words. What is fear? What is anger? What is jealousy? We can see an effect of it. We can tell by facial expressions that someone's having that kind of an emotional reaction, but we really can't, you know, it's hard to explain what that sensation is like except for someone who's actually experienced that sensation. Now, I've fasted for 5 days, so I know what it's like to be really hungry. I've gotten fairly thirsty, but I've never known what it feels like to be starving or to be dying of thirst. And you know, I've gotten really tired too, and you get restless. But why do we have these sensations? Like I said, it's obvious with the bodily sensations that they're communicating about needs to the body, but what about feelings like anger, fear, jealousy, sadness, depression? Those feelings may be on some level communicating that there's something wrong with our body, like maybe you know, especially with something like depression, maybe there are some actual physical things going on that are making us feel depressed. But more likely, they are telling us something about our spiritual needs. Now, when I say the word spiritual, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about spiritual as in the intangible, non-physical part of ourselves. We want to, you know, feel loved. We want to be happy. We want to be satisfied. We want to, you know, feel valuable. But what are these things? What is love? What is value? What is? These are intangible things. They're spiritual things. And many years ago, someone explained something to me that has really stuck with me. Okay, the difference between the tangible and material and the spiritual is simply this. We can observe the material physically. So, you know, you have a cup of water, you hold up a cup of water, take a drink. We can relate to that because it's tangible, we can see it. But what about the intangible? What about things like beauty and love? We see those in the relationship between tangible things. We see love and all of these emotional things in relationship. Emotions are about the relationship part of our being. They are about They're just like the other sensations that I was talking about earlier are about communicating to us things about how our body needs, all right? The need of our soul is to relate, to interact with nature, to interact with animals, plants, other people. It's to engage with the world around us. And emotion is telling us about the nature of our engagement or our relationship. In other words, it is feedback. Okay, somebody's saying the audio quality is low. I'm not sure why. I don't see any sign on my part. Why the audio would be bad. Just sounds weird. Okay. Well, let me try. I can change to. Okay. So try that. That's the audio from my webcam. Is that better? Okay. Well then, let's just talk from the audio from the webcam. All right. Okay, that is better. So there must be something wrong going wrong with my headset. So, as I said, emotions are like hunger, thirst, and so forth. They're communicating things about our relationships with the world, with life, with other people, about the intangible connections that we have with things around us. That's what I'm referring to when I refer to the idea of spiritual. So let's look at the quote-unquote negative sensations in the body. Hunger, thirst, fatigue, pain, for example. Are these things bad? Is it bad to be hungry? Is it bad to be thirsty? Is it bad to have pain? Well, it's certainly unpleasant, right? Very unpleasant. We don't like it. But it's unpleasant for one reason and one reason only. Because it motivates us to do something to restore ourselves back to the state of feeling good. When we're in pain, we want to find a way to relieve it. Pain is telling us something is wrong, that we've injured ourselves, that we've damaged our body in some way, and that we need to fix it. If we didn't have pain, we wouldn't know something was wrong. If we didn't have thirst, we wouldn't know we need to drink. If we didn't have hunger, we wouldn't know we needed to eat. If we didn't get tired, we wouldn't know we needed to sleep. These things are communicating the needs of our body. Well, in the same way, the negative emotions are communicating to us the unmet needs of our soul, the unmet needs of our spirit, the unmet needs we have for the way we relate to other people in the world. They are telling us that something needs to be done. So they are both messages, on the one hand, that there's a problem, and they're also motivators trying to move us to do something about that problem. And it's very, very critical, because when you're really thirsty, you know what you need. You need water or something to drink, and you're going to look for it, and you're going to really, really try to find something to drink because you're highly motivated to relieve your thirst. The problem we have with the negative emotions is, one, we've lost the ability to understand what they're trying to tell us to do. We don't know what the solution is. We don't know what our inner soul is crying for when we're angry. We don't know what our inner soul is crying for when we're sad. We don't know what our inner soul is crying for when we're afraid. Understand? That's the problem. Why don't we know? We seem to be able to tell what we need to do for ourselves physically. Why can't we? Why do we have trouble telling what we need to do for ourselves spiritually? And I would propose to you the answer is because we have had our feelings invalidated from the time we were small. We've been told that those feelings don't matter, that they're wrong. That's like telling somebody who hasn't had water and is dying of thirst, you're wrong to feel thirsty. Sorry, you shouldn't feel thirsty. Something's wrong with you that you feel thirsty. But there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, in talking about you in the more abstract sense of you, there's something wrong in that you need water, right? It's not It's not something that is a fault of the person who's hungry or thirsty or tired. It's that they need food, or they need water, or they need whatever. That's what our emotions are doing. They're not wrong. And I would dare say that just about everybody in this call has been basically led to believe you can't trust your emotions. You can't trust your feelings. Feelings lie to you. Feelings are invalid. Feelings are wrong. Feelings will lead you astray, blah, 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 blah. Well, not really, okay? Because let's go back, and I'm going to use the example of the body to help get this point across. All right, there's a difference between head hunger and bodily hunger. All right? Your head carries these ideas in it, okay? And these ideas may or may not be connected to the physical reality of your body. So you may see some delicious dessert that you really like chocolate cake or cheesecake, or I don't know, whatever. And you may be perfectly full, not in any need of nutrition whatsoever. And your head will go, ah, that looks good. I'm hungry. But it isn't real hunger, because it's not a bodily sensation. It's an idea driving you. It's an idea that your brain has an associated memory that there was pleasure in the past associated with doing this thing. Therefore, it's saying, I want some pleasure, and I want to experience pleasure, so therefore I'll do this thing now, whether the body actually needs it or not. The problem with that is that real pleasure only comes from satisfying the real needs of the body or the real needs of the soul, and nothing more. Because the truth of the matter is, if you think about, you know, the Thanksgiving Day feast or whatever feast you want to choose, once you have eaten beyond a certain point, there is no more pleasure in eating. Meaning there is no more physical sensation of wellness, happiness, good feeling in your body. Instead, what you get is a stuffy, bloated, sleepy, blah, blah, blah feeling, right? But your brain saying, oh, I need to eat as much as possible, somehow is able to override the message of your body, and you eat beyond the point at which it's pleasurable. Now, you have to be taught to do that. What I observed when I was raising my kids is little children do not do those kinds of things naturally. They're hungry, they'll eat something, and as soon as they've eaten enough to take the edge off the hunger, they want to get up and play again. That is assuming you're feeding them healthy food. Junk food has a way of bypassing normal signals that the body has for satiation, and you'll eat way more than you need because you don't get the signals that you've gotten the nutrition you need. Okay, so it fools your sensory apparatus. Well, in the same way, when it comes to our emotions, we've been duped. We've been duped. We've been led to feel that we shouldn't feel angry, we shouldn't feel sad, we shouldn't feel jealous, we shouldn't feel these feelings, and that the feelings themselves are bad, and the fact that we're feeling them means we're bad too. So we work really hard to suppress, ignore, and deny our real feelings and replace them with head ideas about what's good for us. So instead of actually pursuing things that satisfy our heart, satisfy our soul, satisfy our inner being, we chase after things that we're told from our head, that we're trained, are supposed to make us happy. Just like overeating, you think that's supposed to bring me pleasure. It doesn't bring me pleasure. Because I'm out of touch with what the body really wants, and real pleasure comes from being connected with what the body wants and satisfying the body needs so that I have a good feeling in my body. But most people are disconnected from that. So they're unable to read the signals their body is giving them about what they're doing, telling them that, hey, idiot, you're eating too much. or hey, you're not drinking enough water, or hey, you're not getting enough sleep, or hey, you're not doing this or that or the other. And instead they think that they're getting sick because of some mysterious thing, because blah, 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 their genetics, or whatever they came up, without ever really thinking about the cause-effect relationship between what they're doing and how they're feeling. Understand? So this has been one of my biggest things in physical healing. And the reason why I'm spending time talking about it on a physical level is because it parallels on this other level with emotions. And if you can understand this on the physical level, it's going to be easier for you to understand it on the emotional level. Because in order to be healthy, you have to get out of your head, in the sense of all of the philosophies, you know, you should be a vegan, or you should be a vegetarian, or you should be a omnivore, a paleo, or you know, whatever the latest diet, nutrition fad is, or the latest whatever, totally ignoring how it makes you bodily feel. Okay? What is good for your body brings it a sensation of pleasure and satisfaction, contentment. And what is bad for your body brings pain, discomfort, and negative symptoms. It's really that simple. But it's hard because, like I said, we get taught from a very early age to ignore that. And we do that emotionally too. Don't be angry, don't be afraid, don't be this. So when we feel these feelings, we think there's something wrong with me. I'm feeling something I'm not supposed to. I'm feeling a negative feeling. Therefore, there's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. The message is one that my being, okay, my heart world, my being is telling me, hey, guy, wake up. There's something you need. I'm trying to get your attention. But you're thinking that means there's something wrong with you. No, there's something wrong with, you're not meeting a need. There's nothing wrong with you other than the fact that your need isn't being met. All negative emotions are telling you that on some level your spiritual, i.e. relationship needs, are not being met. And you need to do something about it. That's it. Okay? They're trying to get a touch with your soul. And so denying them denies your needs. You're saying, my needs are not important. What I need is not important. Because I'm a bad person. That's really what internalizes. Over and over again, I see this. That's the core message that's internalized. There's something wrong with me. I'm a bad person. I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't need these things. I shouldn't want these things. Because that's the message that you've been given since you were small. Because people around you also were emotionally wounded and didn't know how to give you proper and appropriate attention and care when you were small. If you want to learn more about that, read the book, The Continuum Concept. It's a very, very good book. It'll kind of really open your eyes to this. What happens, though, is when we deny or suppress our emotions, we're denying something that's trying to motivate us to do something to get our needs met. And in order to deny it, you have to tense muscles, and you have to constrict breathing in order to be able to shut yourself off from the sensation of your body. And in essence, you start disconnecting yourself from the neck down, so that you live up here in a world of thoughts, not in here in a world of feelings, and down lower in a world of physical action and sensation. Everything is governed from up here. And then we're told, okay, all you have to do is think positively. But what is thinking positively? Is thinking positively going out and becoming a millionaire? There are plenty of millionaires who are miserable. There are millionaires who are happy. What's the difference? The difference lies in what's in here. Understand? Maybe for me, that happiness and satisfaction and everything has nothing to do with pursuing money, other than just have enough to feed and clothe and shelter myself. Maybe it has to do with some mission that inside of me
I feel I need to do, something I want to be contributing to the world, a sense of purpose, a sense of destiny. That's unique. Not everybody wants to be an artist. Not everybody wants to be an athlete. Not everybody wants to be a writer. Not everybody wants to there are people who enjoy doing physical things, building things, fixing things. I mean, that's what makes the world wonderful, is there's all kinds of people with all kinds of different interests and all kinds of different soul motivations, that when they pursue those soul motivations, they make valuable contributions to the world, and they also have happiness and satisfaction and peace of mind and feel good inside themselves, emotionally. Just like when you take good care of the needs of your body, you feel good physically. When you take good care of the needs of your soul, you feel good emotionally. When you're not feeling good emotionally, it's a message saying, wake up, there's something wrong. Now, like I said, most people are so in denial of all of that. This is what I've experienced over 30 years. That when you try to get them in touch with their feelings, they have no friggin' idea how they feel, because they've spent decades denying, suppressing their feelings, and armoring and tensing their body to prevent that. And when you have someone who's armored and tense like that, and then they have tried to become a parent and raise a child who's supple and emotional and flowing with their emotions, they can't handle it, because seeing the child express emotions that they can't express just literally fries their brain, and they get mad and do the same thing to their kids that their parents did to them. Stop it. Shut it up. Quit it. I can't handle it. Because if you can't handle it inside of yourself, you can't handle it with someone else. If you don't know what to do with your own anger, what do you do when someone else is angry with you? If you don't know how to deal with your own sadness, how do you cope with anybody else's sadness? You just want to make it go away. You want to make them suppress it just like you have. So we run around in a world where we have no compassion for each other. Compassion, common passion, common feeling, the ability to relate emotionally to one another. Because we're also busy stuffing our feelings. We can't be honest about what we need and what we want and how we feel. And how are we supposed to relate when the very thing that teaches us about relationships is suppressed and shoved down inside of us, so we're not even aware of it? This is what I've come to understand. And when we do become aware of it, when we realize we're angry or whatever, because we feel so guilty about having these emotions, we certainly can't accept responsibility for it. It can't be me. I mean, I'm a good person. So if I'm feeling this bad feeling and I'm a good person, it must be your fault. And that's what we do as the other big thing that we do in dealing with our emotions, is we project the blame for our emotions on other people. We say, you're responsible for how I feel. You made me angry. You made me sad. You made me afraid. You make me jealous. You. All right, let me ask you a question. You're an adult. You're hungry. Is it somebody else's responsibility to go fix food for you and spoon feed it into your mouth because you're such a little baby that you can't feed yourself? Or you can't go get a drink of water for yourself? Or you can't realize you're tired and go to bed? As adults, we learn how to take care of our own needs. Of course, when we're deprived of being taken care of our own needs as children, we develop really warped attitudes about the whole thing. But that's what happens with us emotionally, you understand, is when we're children and we're feeling bad, we cry or whatever, try to get adults' attention, and if we had healthy parents, they realize, oh, there's a problem here, and they help solve it. And then as we grow up, we internalize and we learn how to do that for ourselves. But when we've never learned how to do that for ourselves, then we're still inside like little children. We have no idea what to do with our emotions. All we're looking for is the surrogate parent who's going to fix it for us. And so we go into relationships with other people as adults thinking, oh, I finally found the person who's going to make me happy, right? And then when they don't make me happy, when I have negative emotions, then it's their fault. because they're supposed to be my parent, not my partner. Get it? So, let me put it this way. You got a cold, all right? You just caught a cold. All right. How about if I give your partners some herbs to help you get better? How do you think that's going to work? Oh, you have a headache. Oh, let me give your children some medicine for headaches to make you feel better. Okay. When your body's saying there's something wrong with it, you don't treat someone else. You treat yourself. It's a sign that there's something you need to do, not that somebody else needs to do. And this is where the second problem we have with emotions comes in, is because we feel these feelings and then we think, oh, somebody else has to change in order for me to feel good. Now the biggest problem with this is that it's completely and totally, utterly disempowering. It is saying that there is no way I can be happy, no way I can feel good, no way I can have inner peace or feel a sense of love unless somebody else changes. Do you realize how powerless that makes you? Since the thing that you want more than anything else, whether you realize it or not, is to feel good, physically and emotionally. And that's a bodily sensation in both cases, is to feel inside of yourself physically good, healthy, energetic, and emotionally happy, enthusiastic, joyful, etc. These are things that you want. And whether you realize it or not, that's your inner motivation. Your inner motivation is you're constantly being driven to find that state of equilibrium where you're taking proper care of yourself and your soul. See, if you're in balance, it's physical. You have to balance rest and activity. You have to balance eating enough but not eating too much. You have to drink enough and not too much, and that requires paying attention to what your body is feeding back to you about what you need. Well, the same thing with your soul. In order for you to be happy, you have to learn to adjust your behavior, what you're doing, not what somebody else is doing, but what you're doing to bring yourself back into balance, into a state of happiness. The messages of emotions are never about someone else. They're only about how you are dealing with what is going on out there. I will repeat that. Your personal emotional sensations have nothing to do with what other people are doing. They are rather about how you are dealing with it. Yes, it's true. Someone punches you, it hurts. Ouch. Okay? But it's over. It's up to you to either punch back or move on. You have a choice in how you can deal with that. And whatever your choice is, you make the appropriate choice and then move on, drop it, whatever. It doesn't bother you anymore. It's only when you make an inappropriate choice about how to deal with something that it continues to bother you. You have a negative emotion because the negative emotion is telling you that you're out of whack, you're out of balance. Not that something's wrong with you, okay? But that you are not getting the message of what your soul and your heart are trying to tell you. You're either trying to deny it or you're trying to project it on other people. Over and over again, I found that there was a simple secret to helping people heal emotionally. Actually, it's a collection of simple secrets, so I'm going to tell you what they are. First, When I work with someone in emotional healing, my first assumption is there's nothing wrong with them, except that they believe that there's something wrong with them. Second is that whatever their emotions are trying to tell them, if they will stop thinking about their emotions, stop thinking about the feelings that they have, drop into their body and feel the feelings and breathe with them and be present with them, that they will find out what the feeling is really trying to tell them, and they will immediately know what the solution is. That they can then take action and change it to bring themselves back to a state of equilibrium. In all cases, the self-empowering point is that they are able to make a choice about what they do to deal with the situation. That's what emotions are for. Positive emotions tell you that you're on track. Negative emotions tell you you're off track. You need to rethink, come up with a different strategy, that when you adopt that different strategy, you will come back to balance and you will be at peace again. I've watched this happen over and over and over again with hundreds of people. It works. The hard part is that most people are so up in their heads, so disconnected from their hearts and so disconnected from their bodies, they have no idea what's going on in their emotions or their physical body at all. Everything they're doing is up in their head. And because their thoughts are all crazy, screwy, and mixed up and wrong, their emotions are all negative and unhappy, and their body isn't getting what it needs either, so they're sick. You see, one of the big secrets I've learned is when you're on the right track, it may not always initially feel perfectly comfortable, because sometimes it's causing you to grow and shift in certain ways. But there's a sense of peace that accompanies the right direction, that includes a sense of you feeling loved and you feeling love for others, and this just peaceful sense that you're doing the right thing. And when you're in that groove, you feel good. And when you're not, you emotionally don't. So let's just take the remaining time we have on this webinar, and let me see if I can briefly explain to you some of the messages that your emotions are trying to tell you. Okay? And let's start with anger, which is where I usually start, because it's one that, you know, most people have a hard time dealing with. Anger. They either feel angry and irritable and have a hard time holding their temper, or they tend to suppress their anger and let people use them and walk on them. Anger is about separating what you are in control of from what you are not in control of. Now, when you are in control of your own life and you have a sense of being internally powerful, like you're in charge of your own life, you don't have a lot of issues with anger. Because anger tells you that you have to make changes to your behavior to protect yourself, to say no. So, like, okay, so just pragmatically from my own experience, I just got married. My wife has some teenage sons, and they don't have very good respect for the idea of property. They take tools and leave them lying around in the yard or whatever, that kind of thing. So I know that my getting angry and yelling at them and trying to change their behavior isn't going to do anything. So I realize I'm angry because I feel like, you know, these are my tools, I worked for them, I don't want them destroyed or whatever. So when I tune in and I identify the anger, I think, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do about it? You see? What am I going to do about it? Because I can't change them, I can only change me. So I bought some nice boxes and some locks, and I locked all my tools up. They don't have access to them. And I've done that with several other things that are mine. I've locked them up so that You know, they can't have access to them. And then, you know, and then I've made some things, they can only have access to them if they're willing to do certain things for me in exchange and then negotiate that with them. Because I can't force them, but I can maybe try to work with them and say, hey, look, you know, I want to do things that benefit you, but I need you to help do things that benefit me, which is what I'm trying to work with them right now. So you see, the anger, okay, is a sign that I need to decide what I need to do to protect myself. What I need to do to defend my property, what I need to do to defend my health, my life, whatever. It's always a sign that I feel like something that I feel is mine, or some right I have to control my own life, is being overridden. And I need to figure out what I can do to get back some control over my own life, not over anybody else's life. People who are losing their temper and being angry and irritable all the time are thinking that the solution is to get other people to do what they want, to control other people. It doesn't work. By the way, anger is also a misplaced desire for empathy, because when someone trespasses against us, they damage our property, they say mean things that hurt our feelings or something like that, we want empathy. We want compassion. We want them to understand how we feel. So we think if we hurt them the way they hurt us, revenge, that they're going to empathize with us. That really doesn't work very well. It's a very ineffective strategy. Just makes them want to hurt us back. And it goes on and on and on, which is why I really believe that Jesus' teachings about turning the other cheek and going the extra mile and everything are very important in terms of learning how not to react to insults or little things that people say that hurt us from our ego point of view of feeling our little damaged sense of self-pride. I think it's fine to protect your property. I think it's fine to protect people from harming you or injuring you, but all too often we're just protecting our little ego and our little sense of wanting to be important. But what does work, and what I have done with these boys, and I had one of them who you know, did something with one of my possessions, and I was upset about it, and basically laid down, you're not going to be able to do this because that. He's just like, you know, he didn't understand at all. And when I realized that I'd reacted kind of with anger on my part, I actually finally sat down with him and I said, listen, I need to start over. How would you feel if I went and did this with this thing that was very valuable to him? Would you like that? How would you feel? You know, that's your property. You know, you should have people respect your property, don't you think? Well, that was my property. I feel that way. See, this is a way of starting to communicate that creates common feeling. We're trying to help other people really understand so that we bridge the feeling of connectedness, because relationships are all about feelings. And when we are able to communicate better from a feeling level, so that people, one of my favorite authors, Stephen K. Scott, said 90% of persuasion is getting someone to feel what you feel and then understand what you understand. The last 10% is to ask for a change. So he told a story, and I really love this, about someone on his staff who was dating this woman who was just a gem, and nobody could figure out why he kept postponing them getting married, and she was getting frustrated, and he helped her construct a message for this guy. He had played football in high school and in his junior year, the coach had made him sit on the bench almost the entire year, and he felt very frustrated because he felt he was a good player. And in his senior year, he became a star player. So he wasn't just thinking, I'm a good player. He was a good player, but he, you know, had to sit on the bench most of his junior year. So she went to him and she said, when you were a junior in high school, I know that you felt frustrated with having to sit on the bench, and you go, yeah, yeah, and she got him to talk about how it felt to know that he could contribute something valuable to the team, and he wasn't being allowed to contribute something valuable to the team, and blah, blah, blah. And when he got into the feeling, when she got him into the feeling of what that felt like, then she just made this statement: so why are you keeping me on the bench? Why won't you let me be part of your life? They were married in, I think he said, 3 weeks. Because he could relate to how she felt. Even everyone is motivated by feelings, and it's not punishing people and getting angry and trying to hurt them because we feel hurt. It's trying to build bridges of understanding. But before you can do that, you've got to get in touch with your own emotions so you can talk about them and understand them intelligently, instead of just react to them because they're so pent up and whatever inside of you. Grief is the same way. We feel sad because there are things that are valuable to us, and when we lose them, we hurt. I had an experience today that's really, really sad. It was very difficult for me. I had to lay off some employees because the funds in my business are too low to continue to hire them. And I like both of them. I wish I could keep them, but I can't. Not right now. Not until the business starts getting better. That hurts. It's sad. But when you can acknowledge your sadness, then and have empathy for your own suffering, you can also have empathy for the pain of others. And when you can't, you harden your heart and you don't have empathy for the pain of others. And too many of our society have hardened their hearts. They have no empathy for the pain of other people because they can't empathize with their own pain. It's okay to hurt at loss. It's okay to feel the emptiness when you lose something. When you learn to deal with that, when you learn to let go, is how you create the space to allow new things and change to take place in your life. Because one thing that's for certain in this life is nothing in this life is going to be permanent. So I remember when I learned to deal with grief completely was when I lost a 2-month-old baby to sudden infant death syndrome. And I grieved that baby's death, and I let myself grieve that baby's death, and I let myself feel my feelings. And after I did that for a little while and engaged my heart and engaged my feelings, a huge realization came to me that nothing that I have in this life am I guaranteed will be here tomorrow. Nothing. I can't take anything for granted. So I could either choose never to love anything, try to protect my heart because then I'll never have to suffer loss, or I can embrace the fact that everything I like and everything I enjoy won't be here tomorrow. And therefore I have to love it fully today, which is the path I took. And ever since that time, grief has never stung that way, because I don't live my life with regrets. Grief taught me one of the most powerful lessons about living and being present that I ever learned. But I did it by engaging my grief, not running away from it or blaming it on someone else. 30 years of doing this have convinced me that every one of our negative emotions has something very positive and valuable to teach us, if we can learn to engage those emotions and understand what they mean and what they're trying to tell us to do and how we're supposed to live our lives. And I can tell you also that doing this has made me healthier, has made me happier, has made my relationships better, has had numerous benefits for me. In fact, I think the biggest benefit, the biggest thing I can see is when I look at myself in the mirror, like you're looking at me now. I'm 63 years old. 63. And because I've been able to process, my feelings and work through, stuff, I'm not carrying the kinds of emotional baggage that most people my age are carrying in terms of suppressed and denied emotions and pent up issues and blah, 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 blah. I'm still able to engage with life, to have hope, to have passion about life and so forth. And that's what this work has all done for me. So I want you to understand that when you're feeling something that's unpleasant, don't run away from it. That was the first lesson I learned that drew me into this whole experience. Don't run away from it. If you run away from a sensation of what you think of as a negative emotion, it will chase you and haunt you forever. It's just like if you try to run away and pretend you're thirsty, not thirsty, you'll just get thirstier and thirstier and thirstier and thirstier and thirstier until it either kills you or it breaks through with the message. Well, if you're experiencing anger or irritability or sadness or grief or anxiety or depression or whatever you're feeling, you can't run away from it. It's not out there in the world. It's inside of you. And you have to go in and you have to look at it. You have to let yourself feel it. It feels like it's going to kill you, but it won't. You let yourself feel it. You breathe with it. You tune into it. You process it. You cry if you have to. You yell if you have to. You shake if you have to. You do what you need to do to engage it. And when you engage it, it'll teach you about what you need and about what you need to do to put yourself back on track in a way that I never could. And that's one of the things I think is amazing about working with people in this is I don't tell them how to solve their problems. I just get them to go in and listen to their own heart, and they figure out how to solve their own problems because the answers are inside of you. And your emotions are trying to lead you to those answers. They're not untrustworthy. What's untrustworthy is the thoughts and ideas you've built in your head about them. And if you stop trying to analyze them and think them and figure out how to get rid of them and instead tune in, they will tell you how to make them go away. Just like your thirst tells you to drink water, they will tell you the action you need to take to make them go away. Once you choose to take that action, they will go away because they've delivered their message and they've motivated you to make that change. And that's all they're there to do. That's their purpose. That, my friends, is the positive purpose in negative emotions. Now, I am going to be doing more things to put out materials and post videos on YouTube and so forth that are spin-offs on this and other things that I have to say about relationships, about feelings, about people, about spirituality and so forth. And this is kind of my little foray into getting into this. So I appreciate it if you enjoy this video. It will be posted on YouTube. That you share it, like it, spread the message around. I will be doing more trainings and articles and videos on this topic so you can learn more, and we will be doing things to, we do have courses and programs to help people work through things. We want to expand those programs and get more people trained to be able to do the things I've done for the last 30 years. So please, share this video, like it, and start paying attention to your emotions and watch for more information that we're putting out in the future on this topic. Now, with that, I will open this video up for a few minutes to some questions. I don't know that I'm going to. I'm going to stop the recording. Sorry, I'm going to stop the recording because I want people to be able to feel free to say something, and I don't want them to feel like they're being recorded. So.